And let's just kind of start on what led you to finding this story.
Well, um, the fortunate thing about my process in producing and directing this documentary is that the story found me. I was not aware of Mr. Bright's story prior to finding out about it. It just so happens my father was a really good college basketball player, and he got inducted into the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame, which is where Drake is a part of. And so I ended up meeting the commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference at the time, a guy named Doug Elgin. We were just kind of making small talk, and of course he's like, what do you do? And I said, well, I produce and direct broadcast documentaries. And he was like, oh, I got one for you. And like I said in the panel, I hear that all the time. People are pitching you stories all the time, and 99% of them go nowhere. But he told me about this man named Johnny Bright, and he was really interested in doing the story. So I emailed Doug the following week after the ceremony, never heard back, so I thought, okay, it's a dead project. Well, about 2 years later, Doug emails me out of the blue saying, hey, I really want to do this story. Are you still interested? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So the summer of 2020, unfortunately, that's when COVID broke out. But we decided that we were going to move forward to get the project off the ground. So we concurrently raised money for the production while we were filming the production. And so just grateful that Doug followed through. There's also another executive producer named Vinay Sharma, who's a Drake grad, those two have been trying to get the Johnny Bright story off the ground for about 7, 8 years. And so, just grateful for the opportunity and glad that we were able to bring it home.
So it seems like based off the documentary being mostly like Drake sports historians and the
Hmm.
author that wrote
Yeah,
Johnny
right.
and the audience reaction after the film too. It seems like outside of those Drake historians, the story's been buried over time. What do you think is the reason why that is?
I thought about that a lot. Why don't more people know the Johnny Bright story? And I think it's because we like to just only assign historical significance to one or two people in certain eras. Like, the civil rights era is defined by Martin Luther King, even though there was hundreds of people who participated and had an impact on that movement. So I purposely pointed out Jesse Owens, Joe Louis, and Jackie Robinson because those are the athletes that usually define the era that Johnny Bright was participating in. But I felt like he deserved to be in that era as well, and or among those great people as well. So that's the whole goal of the documentary, is to try to bring awareness, try to make people more aware of Johnny Bright's story, because I think it still resonates today, even though he was playing in 1951.
Yeah, you could almost make the argument as well, and I kind of want to hear your take on it, that his impact off the football field
Hmm.
is greater than even his pinnacle
Yeah.
was as a college football player, which was the top of the top at the time.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
um, what do you think out of his entire legacy that he's left? What do you think's been the most impactful for him that he should be remembered
Well, I think Johnny Bright's impact, and this is how we kind of composed the documentary, was the third act. It was him becoming a teacher and a principal, and all the students that he influenced, not only in education, but really helping so many students get athletic scholarships to colleges. And so, you know, I knew he would be, people coming into the documentary would think, oh, it's just a football story, and and his life ended there. And most narratives about Johnny Bright prior to this documentary, they always end his story like right after the incident, like he didn't do anything else. So for me, it was the third act, which was impactful to me. I really wanted to emphasize and highlight that part of his life that he went above and beyond just the incident and being a great college football player. He went and achieved his own goal of becoming a principal.
for? And I think it lends a lot to his courage as well, that he kind of took the incident and spun it into a positive
Yeah,
face mask where he's like, I'm not letting that get me down.
yeah,
I've helped the game grow from there.
yeah.
So, what do you think what's an idea that you would have on how Fort Wayne, who has this heroic resident that they don't really honor. What do you think they can start doing to bring his legacy and awareness a little bit more into the fold here?
Well, I think Fort Wayne's off to a good start with Hobnobbing, selecting the documentary, which we're very honored about that, and getting the word out. And then during the panel discussion, there are already a couple of people who say, hey, I want to use this for this, and I want to use this for that. So we hope that the documentary will at least spark the conversation. We'll start making people aware of Johnny Bright, and also hopefully people will honor Johnny Bright. And it sounds like, the city, we heard a lot of different ideas, from showing the documentary to honoring him with a statue. I think there's a variety of things that can happen, and hopefully they will happen.
And looking into the future with the Johnny Bright story, what is something you hope happens out of this documentary and bringing his awareness into the spotlight
Mm.
as it should have been years ago?
Right. Well, we're very fortunate that the documentary has had a pretty robust distribution strategy. It's about a year old, actually. We debuted it in October of last year, and from that we were able to secure a distribution deal with CBS Sports Network, and so it's had a few national screenings, or airings, I should say. And then we just finalized a deal with PBS affiliates. I think it's played in over 180 PBS affiliates across the country. Festivals like Hobnobbing really help it out. So we feel like we've done a pretty good job of getting the word out there. We know that there's probably more work to go and more work to do. And when people ask me about it, I want to figure out a way to make it as available to them as possible.
And just to kind of wrap things up, what's something that you want to talk about, either Johnny Bright or the documentary, or something you're working on in the future that maybe I just haven't asked you, or that you want to tell that you haven't been asked about yet?
Well, you've done a really good job, Will. I will say this. When we got selected into Hobnobbing, we were all really excited, me and the team behind this, and it was a great team behind the production. And then I got a text from Vinay Sharma, one of the executive producers, this morning, and said, hey, today's the anniversary of the incident. The incident game happened today, 72 years ago. And so for me, it was, this is probably the last festival I'm gonna participate in. They're fun, but we've done a lot. But this was just a great way to kind of end the festival run for the Bright Path. We're just so honored that it's gotten selected in the festivals that it's been selected in. We're beyond honored about Hobnobbing acknowledging this documentary. And now that I know about Hobnobbing, I hope to have more in the future.